And we are live. Hi everyone, this is Thomas from Video Mantis here with another Mantis discussion. I have one of my good friends here, Steve Weiss. How are you doing, sir?
Good, Thomas.
Dude, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. I know you're very busy right now that you're getting ready for a new show.
I am. Been preparing and putting the gear on container carriers to go to Hawaii. We will be doing the new Magnum PI on Oahu in Honolulu.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Wow. So, you know what? Before we even get into that show, why don't you tell everyone a little bit more about yourself, what you're about, and, you know, go from there. I mean, I've known you for at least 12 years now, so let's get caught up a little bit.
Production sound mixer since 1991. Many credits. Last 11 or 12 years, primarily in television. 13 years, perhaps. Primarily television. Haven't done any features during that time, but I've been very fortunate. Life's been good here. Been working steadily. This has been a slow year, but looking forward to this adventure in Hawaii.
I bet. Have you ever worked in Hawaii before?
Yes.
Oh, hilarious. The camera already stopped, guys, so we're going to go to 2 for a second. I'm going to hit the button. And we're back. I just need to shrink something. Guys, sorry, we're having a couple technical difficulties today, but we are going to clean them up. There we go. Zoomed back out. Hi, guys. Thanks for your patience. So tell me a little bit more about this Magnum PI show in Hawaii. I've never had the opportunity to work there before.
It's a reboot of the iconic series of the 80s with that had, well, it was about a private eye, of course, with the PI, and just looking forward to seeing how the new treatment's going to treat it, and I'm just anxious to get there and start the work.
Absolutely. Now, I'm assuming that you are taking maybe one of your crew members, maybe not both. What's the story with that?
I've had a really good 2 guys in my crew for a lot of years, and they only allow me to bring 1 guy to Hawaii, so I have to use a local for one of the positions, for the utility position.
So did they have to like fight to the death or something like that?
I made
just,
a mud
like,
wrestle.
break a broomstick and throw one end in or something? What did you do? How'd you decide?
I took the boom operator.
Gotcha.
Because, so I'm using a local guy in Hawaii, and I'm sure he's going to work out just fine. He came highly recommended.
Sure.
And many times when you go on location, the production wants you to bring 1 guy or none, and then you're forced to use guys from their local.
Exactly. So why did you, I think I kind of know why you picked the boom operator, but for somebody that doesn't understand a lot of narrative television and long-term jobs, why did you necessarily decide to pick the boom operator instead of the utility?
The boom operator has the skill of booming. Not that the utility does not, but he's the primary guy. He's the guy on set that's the point man for the sound department. He's dealing with the day-to-day, the minute-by-minute things that the camera department or wardrobe, or we all deal with what wardrobe, because in today's production environment, we have to wire everybody. Everybody gets a lav under their clothing because there's at least 2 cameras every day, every scene. Most of the time now there's 3.
Yeah.
3 cameras, and many times there's 4, or little GoPros and things up in the ceiling. So we rarely get a boom operator in anymore. We have to go put all these wireless on ISO tracks, and so it's a daunting task. It's so much different because when you have 3 cameras, there's no place for a boom to fit that's not a reflection or a shadow or the boom operator in one of the 3 or 4 cameras.
Absolutely, especially in today's sets with the reflections that we have. They always want to shoot, boxes inside of boxes when they have those interrogation rooms. And
Yes.
oh, God, it's a nightmare. But, yeah, so why do... No, sorry. I kind of branched out for a second. Tell me a little bit more about how you picked your boom operator and why you specifically are bringing him on this job.
We've done a show together for the last 5 years, both of the guys in my crew. The utility has been with me for 13 years. We've done every show together for the past 13 years, and I love him dearly, and I feel real sorry that I can't bring him, and sort of like breaking up the band.
Yeah, because I personally feel a little bit nervous because, I know, for example, you use a lot of Sennheiser wireless, #Sennheiser. Hi, guys. And not that they aren't common systems, but I know that a lot of people in production sound are more prone to electrosonics. Not that there's anything wrong. I mean, the Sennheiser systems, I've used them with you. God, you learned how to make them sing. But yeah, I would be a little bit daunted about like having to train somebody on the day. So what is your procedure for working with a new utility?
The new utility, I will meet with him very soon. I will be leaving probably I'll be there about 6 days, 5 to 6 days ahead of our first shoot day.
Nice.
I'll meet the utility. I've talked to him on the phone. He came highly recommended. I'm looking forward to meeting with him and showing him how my Sennheiser gear operates. I have everything Sennheiser, the receivers, transmitters, the MKE1 microphones, mics on the poles. Everything I use is Sennheiser. I just love it.
Yeah, honestly, it's just they're tanks. They sound gorgeous, and they just work. I've never had a problem with a Sennheiser piece of gear.
Me either.
Yeah, which is incredible to say in our industry because everything gets rattled around in cases. They get dropped in toilets.
Recently, that happened. One of the lady actresses on the last show I was doing went to use the restroom, splashed
Yeah.
what was clipped on the back of her belt.
No longer
ended
clipped.
up going fishing.
Yep.
So
Here's a good question for you. How many times has a transmitter dropped in a toilet in your career, but how many times did they tell you that it dropped in the toilet? That's the real question.
I will never know how many times they didn't tell me.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But I have 2 instances
Yep.
where they said it happened, and it was obvious. It was wet.
Yeah, I had one where this lady, like, she went to the bathroom and we didn't know. She just happened to go and then she comes back and we're like, okay, bringing up the fader and the fader doesn't work. We're like, what's going on? Oh, I'll check it, boss, no problem. And I go over and this thing is wet, and I'm like, you're not sweating, like what's going on? And like I had to, no, it didn't drop it. And she was lying because she was so embarrassed. But I was like, listen, please don't be embarrassed. If it dropped in the toilet, I just need to let them know. You don't have to pay for it, but we need to know how it happened, or else I'm going to have to pay for it. And she's like, okay, it dropped in the toilet. I'm so sorry. But it's like, could you at least dry it off next time? Maybe just a little bit, I don't know what's on there. Ew. Fun stuff.
Yeah.
Part of the joys.
So then it goes back for refurbishment.
Exactly. Yeah.
It goes back to the factory authorized service center.
Yep, and they just rip the guts out and put new stuff in properly.
Whatever is bad is replaced.
Let's talk a little bit about L&D. If you guys don't know what L&D is, it stands for lost and damaged, and it's a process that we get into when we're working on these shows, because how many times does a lavalier break on set?
Daily almost.
Yeah, pretty much daily, right?
Well,
I would say
that's an
1 to 2 a
exaggeration.
week.
Yes. Yeah. They either through their motion or their hurry to get out at the end of the day or lunch, they just
Yank
rip
'em.
the mic off. Then the mic head is left on the lapel.
We should
taped on.
hashtag actors and actresses on this and say, just wait for your sound guy or your sound girl to come and help you take it off.
Or come to us.
Or come to us instead of just running away and just ripping it off and thinking it's just nothing. It's just an expendable thing because it's really expensive. How much do these systems cost? What? Lavalier costs about what?
$400, $250 to $400,
Yep.
depending on which models.
Unless
you're
if you're
using.
getting the Sennheisers. Man, those MKE1s, well, maybe you get a special something. But most people have to pay like the $700 retail price on those boogers. Aren't they? Maybe they started that way. I
They're
can't
very
remember.
expensive, and because they break so many of them, the actors, because they break so many of them, I now buy them used. So it doesn't cost production so much, and if they're going to break a new one the day it goes on them, then it doesn't make sense. So I'm now buying them used.
Yeah. Okay, so you know what? Let's say this. We're in the middle of take 3. You've got an actor that's doing a walk and talk, and then all of a sudden in the middle of a take, you start hearing crackling. Uh-oh, something's wrong with the wire. What's the procedure that the utility should follow to make sure that we are ready for the next take? Because clearly we have a problem.
I will generally whisper in the director's ear or anybody at Video Village that we have a problem with this microphone. And that's not going to program. That's the private line that's going to the Comtech devices, which they are listening on. I will let them know, and we have a problem here. May we cut? I won't ever yell out, that's a cut. That's the director's domain, not mine. So I will alert the director in his private line that we have a problem, and most often they will cut, unless they know that there's something on the other side that this actor is not speaking, that they won't be using that part in their edit. So that's
right.
Then they will continue but it is the director's call. He might just want the walk. He might want to look. I'm not going to get into what he's.
Yeah,
what
you don't
his
know
head
what's
is.
going on up here inside of his head.
Right.
So it's better not to assume. What do they say? If you assume it's just an ass that leads from you to me or something. Isn't that, what's that?
When you assume you make an ass of you and me.
That's it. I'm just an ass. I don't know. I have no idea. I forget everything. I'm dyslexic. So you know what? Before we get too far into it, guys, I want to let you guys know that K-Tech is the sponsor for today's Mantis discussion. These guys are absolutely incredible, and they wanted us to talk about a product that they have come out. If you guys look on the wall behind Steve, if you kind of lean forward, what? You see that Arrow logo. Oh, yeah, right there. And so they have this new product line called Arrow. They have Arrow kits, but they also have the ABH1, which is a boom holder. It's a very, very small design. It basically just has the baby pins. So if you have your C-stand right here like I do, boom, we'll put it right here. You can take this and throw it right in the C-stand like so. And then from there, you just take your boom pole. I have the K-Tech Aero boom pole right here, and you can stick it in. So obviously, as you know, if you're doing interviews and things like that, you don't need to go out and buy $100 and $150 stand or something like that. If you have a C stand from your grip department, you can buy one of these and do your interviews. This is a very, very nice tool to use. Guys, definitely go check that out. What do you think about boom mates and boom pole holders in general? Do you have any tips and tricks or anything like that?
I don't. Everything I'm doing has been serial television for years, and rarely, like as we said earlier, rarely get a boom in. But
Yeah, you don't really do interviews that much, do you?
no,
Yeah, I'm pretty much the guy coming in and doing interviews for your shows and stuff like that, talking to your actors and stuff. The great thing about these is that they're so cheap that you guys can pick up multiple ones. It's such a small footprint in the bag. I would honestly have 2 or 3 of these because you never know when you're going to run into an interview where you need to have multiple poles over the top. If you're doing a one-on-one where they're shooting multiple people, you need multiple boom pole holders. So check out the Aero ABH1 today. Thank you guys. And thank you K-Tech for sponsoring us. I appreciate it. Hi Chris, how you doing today? Chris Howland says hello and thumbs up. Guys, if you have any questions for us on this Mantis discussion, please let us know. Steve Weiss is with me. He's traveling to Hawaii for Magnum PI, and we're just talking about different scenarios. So one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on here is because, we do have a lot of people, whenever somebody's going to do a big long-term job, I like to bring them in and talk about their thought process and what goes through, because it's not like working at a movie set in Hollywood where it's like, oh crap, I forgot something, where you can call somebody up and say, come get my key, go get my stuff, and then bring it to me. You're going to have somebody doing laps in the Pacific Ocean if you need something. I don't think there's a Coffee Sound or True Audio in Hawaii yet. So what was your thought process on preparing for a job of this magnitude?
it was making a lot of attention to detail. Anything that I thought I might remotely need or remotely have a chance of, whatever is broken, having a backup for. I'm redundant on everything, at least by 2. So making sure all those things were packed, because you can't just send a driver from Teamsters over to the local vendor to pick up what you need. It has to be there, and it will be on the truck. So it's been a long preparation to get everything in there. We had to get everything together and put it in a big ocean-going container that went on a boat. Everything went on the boat. Wow. It takes like 5 days to get to Hawaii from Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And it was just an arduous process with lists to make sure that didn't forget anything.
Exactly.
Because if I get there and we need it,
you're going to overnight it. Yeah, you're going to have to ship it, and it's going to be expensive.
And it's not going to be there when you need it.
Yeah. Exactly.
You might as well not have it if it's not there.
What was the first thing that you said, oh my God, put that in the box? And what was the last thing that you were like, holy shit, I can't believe I almost forgot that?
That hasn't been.
You haven't had that yet?
I haven't had that moment.
Okay, good.
That'll happen day one when I get there and go, oh no.
Because it does happen.
It's on the shelf of my warehouse.
Yep, exactly. And you're like, it's in that. No, it's not in that drawer. Oh my God, I did it. Oh boy. It happens, doesn't it?
It happens, and probably will.
Yeah.
The best laid plans, right?
But how, so like, what was your organization process for all the cases? Did you have multiple cases that you were making lists for each case type of deal?
There's lists. Uh-huh. There's lists with all the serial numbers, with photographs of everything in case somehow the ship sinks.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or the cargo container falls over, or it gets knocked over by a...
Somali pirates come and take the ship.
They could.
Tom Hanks, right?
Everything is in that container right now. It should be landing in Hawaii on Thursday.
Crazy.
And then they'll take that big container, and not only had the audio gear, it had lighting gear, grip equipment, props, furniture, things that they're going to need for set dressing.
Wow, even all that stuff, huh?
Everything went in the 40-foot ocean-going container.
Crazy.
We're just the smallest little part of that.
Exactly. And so, but your big cart is going to go on the plane.
It's going to go on a pallet, because that cart, I had bought some new things prior to starting this show, and ordered some custom-made cables, custom lengths, custom ends that were not complete when I needed to ship the rest of the gear. So it gives me a few more days to tighten things up. And
get it done. Exactly. So, and you said you're leaving on the 19th. So when are they going to pick up the cart then?
To be determined
Oh,
in the
still to be.
next couple days.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Very good. So who's been helping you to get all of the stuff done? Because I mean, obviously, doing all of these cases, especially in the heat and things like that, that's always a challenge.
Well, I do have a warehouse where all this gear is stored, things that I've acquired and accumulated over 27 years of being a sound mixer. So there's a huge warehouse that I share with two other sound mixers, and just to make sure that everything. I was just culling through what's on the shelves to say, might I need this? But there are things in there that haven't been used in 15 years. Things on the shelves that probably should just go to electronic recycling. But
Yeah.
but that's a process also.
Yeah, it is. It's a thing you just say, I'll do it later, and then 10 years later, you're like, well, that was,
Yeah.
Nobody's going to buy it now.
Yeah, I've
you
got
know?
a CD burner in
exactly.
there with
What are those?
that'll copy CDs from one to the other.
Is it a Marantz one? The Marantz?
No, I think it's a Kenwood.
Wow.
I think.
Are they even around anymore, Kenwood?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's crazy. Man, amazing. So, what do you think is going to be the hardest challenge for you on this new show?
Well, we're shooting in Hawaii. Hawaii has beautiful, breathtaking scenery. And the production is going to avail itself of that. If they were not going to use all the beauty of the island, they may have stayed on a soundstage in Sylmar.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a location show primarily. I think there'll be like 2 days per episode on a stage with offices or interiors of houses, but the rest is going to be moving around the beautiful island and showing how beautiful it is.
Have you worked on the island before?
I have. I did a pilot years ago for a surf photographer. So we were shooting in the water quite a bit with high surf and dialogue where you can't put wires on people because they don't have clothes on.
Exactly.
Women are wearing bikini bathing suits and the guys don't have shirts on. So we had to boom a lot of that stuff with the boom operator being on a wave runner.
Oh my gosh.
That was being operated by somebody else. So he's got his boom over his head.
Sea legging it.
Yeah. And then when the big waves would come, they'd have to cut the take, and the wave runner driver
Zoom
would take
them out of the
everybody
way.
or turn into the wave so they'd go over it rather than being broadsided and capsized.
All while he has a big pole.
Yeah.
14-foot pole, close it. Jesus.
He just sticks it upright, and that's how they go away.
Crazy. So what were you dealing with all of the wind and things like that? How are you preparing for all of that?
Well, we had.
Are you going to be doing a lot of beach stuff? I'm sorry, I've never watched Magnum PI. Does that date me?
I imagine there will be beach scenes or everything exterior. And yes, there's always a breeze in Hawaii. And there's rain twice a day. Most days it's a morning shower and an afternoon shower. So the elements will be a challenge. And production, it's not just my challenge, it's production's challenge as well.
Everybody's challenge.
Right.
Well, so what do you do to prepare and to keep yourself safe from the rain? Because obviously you're going to get the aid from production in some way, but you don't want to rely on their aid. You want to take care of yourself.
We will have a pop-up, probably a 10-by pop-up that our carts will go underneath, and the mixing cart will go there. And won't be able to extend the antennas as high as we would like to most days, but we will have one of those. If it comes to raining, if we actually do get a boom out there, we'll have a plastic bag that will go over the boom mic, and we'll just deal with that.
Do you use any of the hog's hair or things like that? Or
We'll have hogs there.
Yeah.
We have it to put on the boom, but I'm assuming this is going to be the way television has evolved into where everybody's wearing a lav, and we rarely get a boom in on anybody.
Yeah, you're just using that to fill in a little bit of the gaps, right? And record an ambience track, point it somewhere. That sounds good.
Yeah.
It's rough, but
so you get room tone simultaneously.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all you can do. Wow. So, what are you most looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to the adventure and the challenge of recording dialogue, capturing these performances so the actors don't have to loop, that we'll be able to capture their performances, and editorial will be able to use all of that and getting the best tonal quality possible with the onus of the wardrobe or lack of wardrobe. With very skimpy clothes. Very
Yeah, that's always the funniest thing is that, when it's hotter out, everybody's wearing less clothes. They're wearing bikinis and things like that. But the funny thing is that then there's more wind involved, and it's harder to potentially get rid of the wind unless if you use multiple accessories, which bulk up the microphone. So it's kind of a catch-22, isn't it?
it's a challenge, and sometimes we fail miserably at that.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with the equipment. It has everything to do with what the wardrobe
Yeah,
is.
and Mother Nature.
And Mother Nature, yeah.
In fact, I remember, gosh, I bet you're going to remember this scene. I think it was 10 years ago or something. We worked on, was it called Dark Blue or
Yeah.
Blue Streak or something?
Dark Blue.
Dark Blue. There was one scene where they were walking across from two buildings, and there was like a big, it was above the street or whatever, and there were no windows. Do you remember? And it was just like 50-mile-an-hour wind hitting those two guys with their ties are going like this. And you were just like, Thomas, there's wind on that. And I'm like, I put 6 overcovers on it. I don't know what to do. And you're like, just shove it in there. Because, like, as long as it doesn't have wind, if it sounds muffled, they can do something with it, but we had to just get it. That was, man, I remember that.
I think we were successful ultimately.
I think we did get it. It definitely sounded a little more than I was used to, but we definitely got it. And when we listened to it live, they were able to clean it up, and it was very good. So... How about the food there? I've never been to Hawaii. How is the food any different? Anything fun over there?
Food's always fun.
Yeah.
There's poke and poi and many island things that are just fabulous. It's a delight.
Awesome. And what about where are you staying? Are they putting you up in a hotel? Are they getting you a place on the beach? What's the story?
We get a housing allowance.
Okay.
It allows us to do whatever we want with that money. You could stay in a tent and keep your whole housing allowance, but I tend to want to be, when the day is over and you've been perspiring all day, I want to go back to someplace quiet, someplace safe,
Yeah.
someplace nice.
Mm-hmm.
So I will spend probably over my housing allowance to have a nice place. Of course, it has to be furnished. I can't ship furniture from LA
exactly.
to Hawaii, so it's going to be pricey. As Honolulu is a very pricey city.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
But they give us that allowance, and under the contract stipulations, we get per diem, which can supplement the housing allowance if I go over that.
Per diem, everybody, is money every single day for living expenses, like doing your clothes, eating. And if you say it's free money, basically. So, save it or use it, whatever you need to do.
Right. Well, you're in a distant location. You can't use any of the things that you already own at home, so you have to pay for them again and again
Exactly.
and again.
Exactly.
So it's not a rip-off to the employer. It's just this is what we need. They have their lives too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not 100% you're working, but on location. Your job is 90% of your reason to be there.
Yeah. So what is the negotiation process like for getting a job like this?
It wasn't really a negotiation. It's everything in every business is relationships. Some people may say that, well, this isn't personal. It's business. Well, all business is personal. It's the relationships you make along the way. Fortunately, I've met a lot of great people and worked for and with a lot of great people in the 27 years I've been doing this. And I have relationships, and people still call me when they have a project. And I'm grateful for that.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Because it's definitely something that they say. If you have 10 to 20 loyal clients, they're basically going to fluctuate, and you're always going to be getting calls. That's what you want,
Well, you don't always get the calls, because if one is fortunate enough to be on a series that runs for a long time, people, when they call you, you tell them, "I'm sorry, I'm on this show," and you eventually fall out of their loop, and they stop calling.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
They get a guy and then or a girl, and they become comfortable with that person, and that becomes their first call thereafter. Also, someone that's getting a little on in years. Many of the people that I worked for years ago that were older than I have now retired.
Yeah.
So that circle is closing.
Yeah.
It's closing, and it's being on a show as I was for the last 5 seasons. The many folks that used to call me thought I was, and they have new relationships.
Yeah.
So it's
How do you okay, well, so I know that it's different with you, especially because of your track record, all the shows that you've done. I mean, your resume speaks for itself, clearly. But what can you say to other people that are just starting out? You know, you work with a new client for the first time. Like, for example, yesterday I worked with a brand new client for the first time, and I think the job went great. They were very happy with me. They were very happy with the audio. I assisted where I was needed, wasn't a burden in any way. Not that that would matter. Um, but what can I do in the future? Because, you know, they may never call me again. I could have just been one of the specs that they picked up because they needed somebody and it just luckily landed on my number and I was available. But what do you think that I could do to kind of increase my possibilities of them calling back again? Is there
Send them a thank you note.
send them a thank you,
Yeah.
follow up with them,
Yeah.
just simple like that. Because can we talk about this a little bit more? Because honestly, this is something that I personally have a problem with, and maybe people do as well at home. Guys, please feel free to chime in if you want. Um, I don't like to be nosy. I don't like to push people a lot. And so, like, I've noticed, like, hey, if I haven't got a call from these people, you know, if I kind of bug them like a month later, you know, I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of prying too much where it's like, yeah, that guy just needs a job. Where instead of it's like, well, hey, how you doing? You know, like the small talk and then, hey, can you give me a job? You know what I mean? What can you say about that?
Just thank them for the job they've just given you, and let them know that should their needs require your services in the future, you would be available for them.
Yeah. So it's just simple like that, and sometimes it's going to stick, and sometimes it isn't.
Yeah. Sometimes somebody else will enter that production. They'll have a nephew or a son-in-law or something that will be their first call, and it has nothing to do with the good or bad job that you did.
Yeah. Exactly.
It has everything to do with who's at the top of someone's mind, who gets that responsibility to make that call.
Mm-hmm. Well, how does somebody get, if they're fresh out of school now, how do they get to where you are? How do they get to working on these big shows? Because that's what everybody wants to do. They want to work on the next Avengers. They want to work on Magnum PI, the new remake after this one. You know what I mean? In 10 or 15 years. How do they get to that?
It's still, as I said earlier, everything in business is personal. So you make your acquaintances, you make your connections, and you try and keep them, you try and build upon that. I did a good job for this person. Hey, and they may move on to another production after that, and then you will meet a whole new circle of people, and it just expands. I don't think there's any way to hurry it along. Mm-hmm. It's an evolving process.
And do you think it's important with all this social stuff? Do you have a Facebook account?
I do.
You do? Okay, cool. Do you use it a lot for work, or is that personal for you? Some people use it for work, some people don't. I'm kind of a hybrid. I look at a lot more cat photos than anything.
You're a peculiar guy.
I am peculiar.
The Facebook.
Yeah. Drop the please, okay?
For me, is just to see what my colleagues are doing. I rarely post anything on there. Mm-hmm. Rarely post anything. I like to see what my friends and colleagues are doing.
Gotcha. So it's just more of the community aspect for you instead of trying to use it for work as some people are doing.
Many people do that. They're posting many times throughout the day saying, "Hey, we broke and I ate a sandwich," and that works for many people just to have their name constantly out there.
Right.
It is a way of staying visible, and the new social media scene that everybody is using, not everybody, but many people are using to great success. It works. It works. There's a new way of acquiring work these days that works for those that know how to use it.
Yeah.
Just when a producer or maybe a second AD or a production coordinator that you worked with a year or so ago, 6 months, they're starting to crew a project and they see something on Facebook because you're friends with them and they go, him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll call him.
You remember Steve? Oh my gosh, we got to get him on this job. Absolutely.
So it's just when
you have to be memorable.
You have to be memorable or memorable in your anonymity. Mm-hmm. I'm not the guy that goes out on the set and makes a bunch of noise about things. I don't want to go out there. It's my best day at work is if nobody knows I was there.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Yeah.
I just want to do the job and not be the object of attention. Mm-hmm. And many of my colleagues use a different method, and they're out there kibitzing and talking with people on the set and over at craft service, and I tend to just kind of be off quietly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not saying what anybody else does is wrong. Whatever works for you works, but I tend to be.
And it doesn't mean you're not even going to talk to people. If they
No,
come up, you're going to socialize and do your things, but you like to be focused in your trade,
I
which
do.
is great.
I do. I want to just be quiet.
Whoop, I got to turn this camera on again, guys. Sorry for the black. We'll flip back to it right now. Oh, and then I got to do, it's funny, every single time I do that, I got to do the zoom out. Pew. Hi. Anyways, guys, we're here with a Mantis discussion with Steve Weiss. He's going to a long-term shoot. He's going to be gone until December working on Magnum PI. This is your chance to ask any questions that you guys might have for a sound mixer that's going to be working, on a job that's not here. He's got to get on a plane and go and meet his gear. Hopefully it all gets there in one piece, right? It will. It will. And if not, you're going to overnight everything brand new, right, when that boat sinks.
Oh, yeah.
Don't let the boat sink. But yeah, please let us know if you guys have any questions. Agamemnon says, talk some about your own pathway to production mixing and describe how you do the mix. Your work is always so seamless and beautifully mixed. That coming from Aggie is a huge compliment.
It is, because I have
Wow.
nothing but admiration for Aggie as a person and as a professional.
Yeah.
My pathway to being a sound mixer started with being the musician in junior high and high school that then had to operate the PA system and learn how to keep it from feeding back, and also so the singers could be heard over the din of a bunch of guitar amps and
Yep.
and drums. From that, it went to a touring performing job, and toured all over, playing nightclubs, casinos, hotels, resorts, and which eventually took me to Los Angeles, where I did a lot of session work as a keyboard player and a singer. And then I was composing, writing some music and some cues for television shows and commercials. And
Wow.
then somebody wanted to go to Florida and do a spring break movie, and there I was, being the dialogue recorder on that. And the rest is geography. No, history. One
Yep,
of those
yep.
subjects I slept through.
Yeah, you probably failed that one too.
I did. And I look back, and I wasn't doing any music gigs, or they diminished. They fell by the wayside, and the production side started to tick up. And then that's how it worked.
That's it.
Here I am, 27 years later, mixing and doing it for a few more years till it put in the papers and retire.
Yeah. So you know what? Let's dig into a little bit more of this, because he says, how do you do the mix? So you know what? I'm going to expand on that question if I can. When you're working outdoors with wind and all of these noisy situations like Hawaii, I'm assuming is pretty noisy.
We will not be dealing with many of the things we deal with in Los Angeles very often. The unending traffic in Los Angeles on the streets for exteriors. Yes, Hawaii, Honolulu especially, is a very crowded big city that has urban noise.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking a lot of it's going to be in the beautiful surroundings with palm trees and water in the background and beautiful houses. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of car chases with gunshots and all that type of noise. All the actors will have wireless mics all the time, 100% of the time. Everybody gets wired. Everybody gets assigned to a pre-fader ISO track listed on. You'll see all the tracks.
And what recorder are you using, by the way? I forgot.
I don't use a dedicated recorder. I have boom recorder on 2 Mac Minis.
Right.
They are clones of each other, so if one fails, I have the same program on the other one. Mac Minis, I have a Yamaha QL1 mixer, which is a new addition for me.
Wow.
I've been using the 01V since 2003. But this new one is a fun learning
Gosh,
curve.
15 years of advancements on a board.
New menus, new.
It's crazy.
So, we digress or gone off on a tangent.
No, yeah, I guess we're just talking about the gear. You know what? Tell me about, because your wireless always sound really, really tight when they're screaming, when they're talking. I didn't hear a lot of noise floor. The question I have for you is, you're using some type of compression on your tracks. Are you? Are you not? What are you doing to tighten your mix?
I do the compressor limiters more as a limiter than a compressor,
Okay.
to take some of those transient peaks out. Usually setting up the compressors on each individual channel, setting them up as like a 2.5 or 3-to-1 compression ratio with real quick attack times is 0,
Yeah.
and real quick release times like 176 milliseconds. So you're not getting that background pumping. It's just keeping that Eiffel Tower spike
Right. Yeah.
on your
That.
just keeping it within reason. Also on the output of that mixer, there'll also be 3-to-1 on the output. So if you get hit real hard on the input, then it'll be compressed there or limited,
Yeah.
and then the output also gets limited. So you've taken some of the transient peaks out, and you don't have to deal with things going way past 0 and losing your bits and losing the audio entirely.
And I'm assuming that this QL1 board has just as good limiters, if not better, than the ones that are in the Yamaha. I'm pointing over here, guys, because I have a Yamaha over here that I'm using. What do you think about the new board compared to your old one?
Well, there's all kinds of plugins on the new one, as there were available on the other one. Modeling compressors of classic tube compressors or
Oh, it literally has modeling of different compressors in
Yes.
it. Oh my gosh! So it's not just like here's the 4 settings that you can change.
oh
and
no,
it
they're
is what it
infinitely
is.
variable. Yes,
Wow! You could put like a manly Vox box on it or something.
you can do all kinds of
It's
things.
so beautiful. Aaron Monsing is asking, I'm sorry, Monshing, my apologies. How did you become the person people want on the job? I wish to be working one day to be working on sound jobs in LA or other cities. I'm from Australia, and I want to get the guy that people go to for all their sound needs. Well, that can absolutely happen. Positive attitude, and what else?
It's relationships. You do the job, you do it as good as you can. You don't slow down production. You try and foresee what possibilities are going to be problematic.
Wait a minute. You be a professional. That's what you're being, right?
You are.
Yeah, that's basically that, right?
Sure. What I used to say that our job many times was hours of boredom punctuated by moments of panic,
Whoa.
where you're sitting there for the longest time
It stressed
watching
me out hearing that.
watching you're watching camera do their thing, wardrobe does their thing, grips electric, everybody's in support of camera, and they're all there, and you work it out. Your boom operator or boom operators are out there trying to flag off shadows and reflections with the grip department, working together, and then right before they say roll, the DP or the director might say B camera, widen out 10 mil. And all the work you've just done is now for naught.
Not enough.
It's not now for naught because now the boom is in the shot.
Yep.
So then we used to have to say, wait a minute, now we're going to have to wire somebody,
Yep.
which makes the production stop. Makes the production stop, and then they're blaming you. So that was a moment of panic.
Yeah.
Now we wire everybody.
Right.
So that moment of panic doesn't exist anymore.
Interesting.
So there are less moments of panic as I've become more experienced and acquired more gear that everybody can be wired all the time, even the people coming up for the next scene.
Right.
We try and get them wired ahead of time. And
Stagger the actors in so you can get them wired in an efficient manner.
that's not up to me.
Yeah.
That's up to the first AD and wardrobe department and hair and makeup. When they're available, we're ready for them.
Exactly. Right. As soon as they're available, bring them to us.
Or we'll go to their we'll go to
them.
their trailers if necessary. But we're ready to wire them when they appear or they call
Absolutely.
us.
Yeah. Wow. Very good. Let's talk a little bit more. I want to change gears for a minute. Kind of a sensitive subject. You don't have to say how much you're earning for your equipment rental, but can we talk a little bit about equipment rentals and the process of doing it? Because a lot of people don't understand when they say, hey, can you come in and do this job? It's $300 all in. And we really need to get to the point where people understand that there's a difference between services and rental. And I know that the professionals in LA, they are very distinct of separating those two things and making sure that whoever's hiring them understands that. For your types of clients, they just get it, you know? But what can you say for people that are just starting out in the industry that need to start learning better negotiation tactics? This is a tough one.
It is a tough one because
Anyone else can join in too, by the way. It's not just us talking. If you guys, I see there's 22 people live with us and only a few people are talking, come on out. Come out of the bushes.
in many cases, the studios and through their accounting departments have set a limit on what a sound mixer will be paid for his gear. And that's not up for negotiation. It's engraved in stone. So then we have to decide with, okay, how much gear are we going to give the production at that fee, at that rate of rental? And you can decide to bring your whole package, and you may negotiate with the unit production manager that, okay, here's what you get. You get these items, you put it on a list, compare it to many of the other rental houses, and say this is what they're giving you for X dollars, for $2,000 a week, say, and anything over and above that is going to be a la carte. Or we can do it another way. We can go all in. The whole truck is yours anytime you need it for, say, $2,700 a week, $25, whatever, however you feel comfortable with, and whatever relationship you have with that unit production manager. But in today's environments, accounting can trump that what the unit production manager says. They'll say, no, we're just not paying that.
Interesting.
And the UPM man you may have worked for 10, 15, 20 years, he comes back, look, I'm sorry, the accounting, and so
I got my hands tied.
yeah, there are no hard, fast rules at this point. It's still the Wild West regarding the relationship with the UPM, what he can do as far as accounting, and I think there are ways to up it. If you've got normally a cast of 6 people and you put 6 wires on them.
Well, yeah, that's basically kind of like the reason why I bring this up is because it's always about the wireless. Because a lot of people, they'll be like, okay, fine, $200 or $300 for your equipment rental, but we need 8 wires. And how do we explain to people without being rude or whatever that maybe that ain't going to happen, or that might not be, it's not really feasible sometimes. You know what I mean? If you think that a wireless system is $100 a day to rent and you want 8 of them, now that's $800 a day. Now I need a recorder that can hold all those ISO tracks plus my mix track. I need all the lavs. There's so much that is involved in getting it. And the one thing that I've noticed, obviously, throughout my career is that, the camera department, they're renting all their equipment, but we are supplying ours as a rental. We are the rental house.
Well, that's our choice to bring our gear, which we're most familiar with, and often is better than what the production could rent from a vendor,
right?
From an independent vendor. I'm sorry, I lost this train of thought.
No, it's okay. Yeah, well, we're basically, like I said, we're just talking about, equipment rentals. And, I did like the point of what you said is that, when you're supplying your equipment, you're supplying your knowledge of the equipment too. So you're going in and saying, hey, when you get my gear, everything is in top notch. I know how to use it, and your sound is going to sing. Where if you are playing the game of, we'll rent the equipment and let you just use it when you get to set. How do you know if it works? Is it set up? Is it broken? There's so many more things that can go wrong.
All true.
Yeah.
All true. You could get a bad package from a vendor, or not that most of them would not do that intentionally. But
yeah, but it happens.
It does.
Yeah.
So you get stuff and it gets there, or often what can happen, you've supplied 8 wires as part of your package, but now you've got a big scene with 12 or 13 talkers in it.
Yeah.
And so in camera department, when they need another camera for the day, or they want a crane, or they want many of the things that they need to get their shots, there's never a question about whether they need it or not. Sometimes the UPM will say, no, we're not going to give you a crane for that. That may come up. But
really? Because I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever heard of a camera department being shot down for anything.
Well, it does happen.
It does?
It does
okay,
happen.
well, good. It makes my heart feel a little better today.
It does happen. Because the grips have to be there to build the crane, so it's up. The DP will tell the grip, hey, I need this crane for this day.
And they need more guys to help.
right, because they have to build it and operate it, and
Right.
so it will. That's and they will usually get it what they want
Yeah.
or what they need. For us, we're the last link in the chain. We as the sound department are the last link. We just have to deal the cards the other departments. We have to play the cards the other departments deal us.
Yeah.
Wardrobe, we don't get any
Say or anything.
and you say, well,
Yeah.
look, that sounds like a potato chip bag that they're wearing. It's crunchy.
Yeah,
Can
exactly.
we do away with
Did you
that?
put Lay's in that shirt?
Oh, we established it with them in the background. We can't do anything about it.
Okay, thanks. You know, there's only one time that I've heard that sound trumped wardrobe, and it was working on 24. They were shooting the pilot. God, this was 15 years ago or whatever. And I don't know if you've seen the show. You know how it's like one episode is 1 hour type of deal. Well, the whole thing is he had this white T-shirt on, but I can't remember the guys that worked on the show. I'm blanking right now. I'm so sorry, guys. I love you. I'm sorry. But they were telling me, yeah, the first day that Jack Bauer came out on set, he had this white silk shirt on, and we went up and said, hey, you know, this is going to be a problem. Can you change it? And they didn't want to, so we went up to the producers and said, listen, we haven't rolled on anything yet. You don't have a show yet. We're going to have problems for the next 10 months with clothing noise if this is the only shirt he's going to wear. Can we please put something else on? And of course they did. They put a cotton T-shirt on him, and it was fine. So it's like, whew. But yeah, that doesn't really happen that often, does it?
They usually come dressed to set, and
Yeah.
we then have to
Deal with it.
deal with it. Yeah.
Deal. You know, so you got to know your bag of tricks. You got to know every single wiring technique.
Yeah,
have
things
all the different accessories that you can
Right.
have in your bag, so you can get your stuff done. Because you got to take life by the horns.
There's not one size fits all. There's not one answer to every audio issue. You just figure out pretty much what doesn't work first of all.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just have to put the mic on where you would normally put it, and then go, okay, that didn't work. Let's move it over here, and then okay, that does work. Sometimes you just don't know until you try, right?
Right. And sometimes you're surprised how well something works, and
Right.
other times you go, why isn't this working?
And sometimes you'll put in 500 accessories to make that wire sound good, and nothing works. And then you rip it all off and use one little baby piece of transport that's like 2 cents, and that works better than anything.
Sure.
It just,
There's a whole plethora of tools, and not all of them work all the time. And some of them don't work at all anytime.
touche. Oh, here we go. Steve, are you able to bring your crew with you? Was that part of the negotiation? You know, Ken, I think you may have came a little bit late. We'll talk about it a little bit more, but
I was not able to bring my whole crew. I was able to bring the boom operator from the mainland to Hawaii. I would have loved to have brought my whole crew. We work well together. We're a well-oiled machine after all the years we've been together. And not only do I like these guys as professionals, but I love them as friends. And it's in any situation on a set, you're with the people you work with more hours a day than you are with your family. So it's great if you can enjoy the people that you work with.
absolutely, yeah. I used to always tell Natalie, it's like, you know, I leave my family to go with my family. When I was working on Desperate Housewives, that was literally my family. I had so much fun being with them all the time. And if you don't have that type of energy in your crew, working 16 hours a day can be a bore, you know?
Or a torture.
Yeah. No comment on that. Do you get frightened by deadlines? Does that affect your decisions and calls that you make?
A deadline being...
Yeah, I don't know either. Aaron, can you give us a little bit more? What do you mean by deadlines? Are you meaning more like, 5 minutes before we roll, the cameras are ready, waiting on sound? Or something else? Please let us know. What do you think he means? Do you get frightened by deadlines? I'm not sure.
I mean, cables that don't work? Deadlines.
Do you have your utility guys solder on set, or do you think that is it a necessity for sound utilities to know how to solder?
We all should know how to solder.
There you go.
We all should. If something breaks, doesn't matter who fixes it, as long as it's working when it
gets
needs to
fixed.
work. But that's part of being redundant and having replacement for everything in that cart. You don't have one, you don't have two, you need two. NASA, many many big companies, they never build one. They always build two. They always build one. They build two satellites. If they're going to launch one, there's another one in the warehouse that they can go look at, because if it's far away.
This was a Jodie Foster movie, wasn't it? I'm teasing.
Probably.
Yeah, but First Contact. That's was it. They were like, why build one when you can build two on the other side of the world? You know, whatever, to send her on her ways. Aaron does say, yeah, waiting on sound. Do you get frightened by deadlines of people yelling waiting on sound? Well, I'll say one thing. If you're working on a set where people are yelling waiting on sound, you're working with rookie crew members, because when you're working on big time shows like that, I'll be honest, I don't hear that joke. It's kind of an unprofessional thing to say. If you want to show your rookiness, say waiting on sound.
Well, we're all way too familiar with the joking.
Yeah. Everybody's trying to be goofy.
And yet another costly sound delay. How many times have we heard that?
Yep.
And usually it's all in good fun. Mm-hmm. It's always in good fun, and that's the way I will take it.
Exactly. As long as it's not this raging, crazy person. Why are we waiting on this? Because the funny thing is, you're just waiting on the process. You know, whenever anybody says waiting on sound, I say, respect the process.
We can't do it any faster than we do it. We get the actors when they're dressed, when they're made up, when their hair is done. Mm-hmm. They come to us for wiring.
And we do it then.
We do it then.
Yep.
We can't do it beforehand.
Yep.
If they don't have their clothes on, we can't put the wires on.
Exactly. They probably don't even want us there.
Nope. We're in the way.
Yep.
So the waiting, we just have to be prepared for when we get our guys or our girls to be wired.
Exactly.
And that's really the only time you're ever going to wait on us. If one of my recorders went down, I've got another one.
Yeah,
Click.
Exactly.
You're not going to wait.
Just go get it and bring it, and they
not
don't
even
even
gonna
need
get
to
it.
know.
There's two that are
that's
recording
right.
simultaneously. So,
and you even have a Yamaha, the O1V, as a backup in your truck. You said
two.
God forbid one goes down. You go back to the old way, right?
Yeah, we're there in 5 minutes.
Yep.
We're up in 5 minutes. Yes, there's going to be disasters befall you. There'll be equipment failures. There'll
Absolutely.
be many things.
There's always going to be a problem on set. Not a problem, but there's going to be something that needs to be fixed. Oh, shoot, that happened.
Yeah.
You know? And, one of the things that I would say, though, is that somebody taught me very young something that I always remember. It's called teacup. Think clearly under pressure. So anytime somebody's like, what's going on? Why are we waiting on sound? The first thing that I do, teacup. I literally think that in my head, and I take a deep breath, because what happens is everybody's, oh my God, and they just start freaking. And if you start doing that, you're not focusing on what's in front of you.
That's the time to slow it down.
That's your panic moment. So you need to learn how to calm down and stay in the moment and just get past that fear and just calm down and do the job, because everybody has problems on set. Hey guys, I'm sorry. We need to fix this C-stand, or we need to adjust this light, or the camera needs to do something, or the dolly. It's okay if you have to do something. Now, if you
just have to communicate that to the first AD or through the channels to let them know, hey, we need 2 minutes here. We need 1 minute.
And if you're an attentive sound team that's always on the ball, that's showing that they're dedicated and that they're doing their best, if somebody shows that you need a minute, they're going to go, yeah, hey guys, hold on a second. You're waiting on the AD for a sec. They won't even say waiting on sound. They'll say, oh, you're waiting on me, sir. Hold on a second. Are you good? Okay. All right, guys, now we're ready. And it's just like, man, that is such a good respect that you can give your sound team, and that you can just grow within your production.
We hear often on the set, we hear the first AD whose job is to keep this thing moving ahead all the time, and his people are listening to what he tells them in their earphones from their walkie-talkies, and they'll be going, there's almost this litany, a punch list of things that first ADs will say, which is, here we go, blah, 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 here we go, and what I've always liked to hear from the first AD is anybody not ready? Because that takes the onus off of him.
Ooh.
Is anybody not ready? Which I used to hear often years ago when I was first starting.
Yeah.
That takes the onus off the AD that it's his problem, and he's not being responsible making it roll.
Right.
If he says, if it's a question rather than is everybody ready? Well, somebody's not going to put their hand up, but if he says, is anybody not ready, then the person who's not ready.
Just 1 more minute, please.
Yeah, then it's not the AD's fault, and everybody knows it's nobody's fault but the person who's not ready.
Right.
So if You hear that instead of this whole, quiet please, here we go, on a bell.
On a bell. Are we on a bell? We've been on a bell. It's too loud. Your first bell didn't work.
Just say,
You weren't ready for it.
is anybody not ready?
Yeah.
Then that person has to raise their hand, and they become the object of attention.
Yeah.
If they're not ready, and it's usually always a valid reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everybody's there to do the best job they can.
Yeah. Hi, Thomas and Steve. What's your advice about the warm material? Sorry for my English. Shooting under the sun, 35 Celsius degrees all day long. Hey, Siri, what is 35 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit?
It's 90 something.
Oh, yeah. What is 35 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit? Yeah, 95. Wow. That was amazing. Do you have Siri inside of you?
No.
Wow, cool. Thanks. Let's see. Shooting under the 35 degrees Celsius all day long. Thanks. I didn't have some problems yet, but it's so hot that I'm afraid something might happen on set. I think, are you talking about the heat of your equipment? What do you do when you're working in extreme heat and something goes wrong with your gear?
In my rack, where the receivers are and where the computers are, there's exhaust fans. If you can keep air going over those electronics, so they don't overheat. If you look at the operating range of most of the electronic things we use on set, something over 100 degrees is outside of its normal operating limits. Not to say it won't go beyond it.
Yeah.
But if you can keep the air moving over the transformers and over the circuit boards, then that's going to help. Also, try and have a pop-up.
Yeah, you've got to get that 100 SPF from that pop-up going for sure.
Well, you need to keep the sun off all that stuff because the sun will heat it even hotter than the air temperature would be.
It's just going to bake it.
Anybody that's out under the sun, like the utility or the boom operators or second boom, have a hat on.
Right.
Have a hat on. Try and keep that sun off your body.
In fact, they have those new hats that go wide around. They cover your neck, and you can even put your headphones on over them or through them. I know that K-Tech has one coming out very, very soon, so that definitely helps. And the other thing is, guys, regardless of the equipment, take care of your health. There are little things where you can pour some cold water on. It's like a little turtleneck thing that you put around your neck to keep your body temperature down. You've got to stay hydrated on set. These are important things. You don't want to pass out on set.
Well, they're not going to let you do that. Nobody wants somebody, even the hardest ass producer doesn't want you dying on set because
that's true.
Because then you're a liability. And then it slows things down and it costs them money. Not that some of them don't care about whether you die or not, just the problem you're going to be for them. So try and just use your head.
Yeah. Just be smart.
If it's too hot, try and find some shade, cool off.
You got to know your limits.
Don't be a martyr and pass out on the set. We're working by and large with other human beings that don't want anything bad to happen to anybody.
Yeah, and then they would literally be waiting on sound because you'd be passed out, and that's not good. Don't wait on that.
Right.
And in fact, okay, Agamemnon says, well put, Steve, very accurately stated. Equipment rental is always a paradox. Truthfully, everything has a unit price and can be negotiated. You have to be specific as a full package or add items as used. Never, ever give equipment away for free, but always make it available or refer producers to a rental company that can cover what's needed. It's an art of balancing the business side of audio to make the soundtrack. Important to build relationships, as Steve notes.
Aggie, couldn't have said it better.
Man, it's good words. And Aaron says, thank you both again. I find myself getting too stressed over the waiting on sound. Teacup. Think clearly under pressure.
Slow it down. You will just be raising your own blood pressure and your heart rate unnecessarily. When you feel that pressure, start to breathe, slow your breathing down.
Yeah, you have to find your calm center. Because he says, I always think that I'm doing something wrong. That's what he's saying here. And that's, I totally understand what you feel. And unfortunately, if you don't mind me saying my opinion first, and then you can correct me, is that you are the professional on set. You are the one that's there recording sound for your client. They should trust you enough to trust your judgment and to listen to you. And if they're giving you that anxiety, you need to just focus on just calming yourself down, think clearly under pressure, and focus on having the confidence in yourself to know, no, I'm doing the right thing. I'm not having to rush. I'm just doing my due diligence. I'm doing my job.
You need to articulate that. One needs to articulate that to the first AD or to the minions on set, his minions, because it's a communication. If he doesn't know what's going on, then he's going to be, what the hell's going on here? And he gets more excited, which will then excite you further. But just say, hey, look, we're having a problem with a wire here or with a transmitter. I need a minute. Can you give me a minute? And always they'll say yes.
Exactly.
Because what else can they say?
Yeah, they have no choice.
What else can
They
they say?
kind of need to,
But-
unless if they want to move on and not have the audio for that person.
But they need to know.
Exactly. Yeah, they need to know because somebody else is breathing down their neck. Exactly.
True.
We're going to flip this camera on one more time. Well, guys, I want to say thank you so much to everyone that's been joining us on this Mantis discussion. This one has been very special to my heart. Steve has been one of my best friends for well over 10, 12 years now. I've worked with him many times, and I just want to say thank you for coming out. I wish you the best on Magnum PI. Hopefully this goes for many, many years and takes you into retirement.
I hope so too.
Yeah, right?
Thank you all for having me.
Thank you,
Thomas,
guys.
thank you for having me. And anybody that has any questions, you can reach me through soundsp1@gmail.com.
Absolutely. You guys do that, or even just leave them in the comments below, and I will help you guys get a hold of Steve as well. We'll take it from there. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
We'll see you the next one. Mantis discussions go live Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific time. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.